Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Vestigo here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, patch 4.2 is now live and I wanna talk you through what's going on in the game right now. What is new addition to the game, what's changed, and I will give you my opinions about them. The first one is silver cost reduction for 1 month from May 6 to June 7. Basically, the gear removal cost will be reduced by 50%. It's nice to see. Next one is some void rebalances, void champion rebalance. As you can see right here, some non-void champions also fixed. They all written here. Sifi, the Tyrant, Seal of the Drakes, Shatterbones, Warlord, Robar, Tyrell. These these are all good changes. So let's start with the voids. Soulless base stats changed. Bases they added 10 more base speed to soulless. They decreased the multipliers, but he will be decent now with the 10 more speed. He was a defense base void legendary champion which were hitting very hard. I think he will continue to hit hard, and he become more faster now. Next champion is V6 the Unbowed. V6 is a free champion which you get from daily logins. She is the last champion you get. She's a void legendary champion. She was kinda useless before, but they changed her mechanics. Now each hit has a 80% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%. It was 10% before. Skill 2 A2 now place a 50% ally protection buff on all allies for 2 turns. It was a shield buff on V6 equal to 20% max HP before. And A3 now is a AoE provoke for 1 turn. Also a shield on V6 equal to 20% of her max HP. It was a 50% ally protection buff on all allies for 2 turns before. Verlim also changed. They changed his aura. Now increase ally defense in Doom Tower by 40%. It was in Arena before. They changed the A1. Now place the Perfect Veil buff for 2 turns instead of 1 turn. Instead of 1 if the freeze debuff is placed by this skill. Also now place a Veil buff on the ally with the lowest HP for 1 turn if the freeze debuff not placed. So basically it means he will place the Veil anyway. A2 now also has a 70% chance of placing a 50% decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns. In addition, the debuff placed by this skill cannot be resisted. So this means you don't need any accuracy for landing this debuff. A3 decrease the cooldown from 6 to 5. It's nice to see. Next one is Fellhammer. He changed, but I don't see him used in any area. And the next one is Broadmaw. A1 now has a 35 chance of placing freeze debuff for 1 turn. Was a 25% chance. A2 effect added to the ascended version. Now also fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%. It's good. It was a revive, I think. No, it wasn't. A3 was a revive, and A3 decreased the cooldown by 1 turn. Exemplar had some changes. Rowan had some changes, but still they are not useful. Suwai the firstborn, I think she she become more useful now because she just become a AoE hitter, and she was hitting very hard, so she get a huge buff. Tauren Titan damage now depends on HP instead of attack. She was a HP based champion. She had a high HP. It was weird to see him damage based on attack. Also some other changes here you can read if you want. Whisper not good enough still, and some other changes right here. You can read them from the news if you want. So next one is added missions. You can see there is a 3 more milestones right here, and with the final reward being this champion. I'll show you right now. He is a Lizardman Void attack based champion. He has a A1 with attack one enemy, has a 100% chance of increasing the cooldown of one of the target's skill at random by one turn, has a 50% chance of placing stun debuff on the target if for one turn if a skill has its cooldown increased to the max. If the cooldown increase is successful, will also decrease the cooldown of one random skill by one turn of the ally with the highest turn meter and a skill on cooldown. Damage based on attack. It's a nice A1, I would say. A2, Drake's Fury, attack one enemy 4 times. First hit has a 100% chance of placing decreased defense. Second hit 100% chance of placing weaken. Third hit 100% chance of placing decreased speed, and fourth hit has a 100% chance of placing block buffs debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 100% chance of placing True Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn if the target has a 4 or more debuffs after the attack. It is really good ability, especially that True Fear part. Attack A3 Blood Wings, attack all enemies, has a 100% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies before attacking. Also has a 100% chance placing a block active skills debuff for 2 turns on enemies without passive skill. Also has an 80% chance of placing block passive skill debuff for 2 turns on enemies with a passive skill. So if this champion hits hard, I'm seeing him being a counter for Skull Crown. I don't know how this is gonna work, but basically it means that Skull Crown will not be able to put the block debuffs, unkillable buff on herself, so she will be die. I don't know, no one has this champion yet. I don't know how this skill works. And the passive, whenever an enemy plays stun, sleep, freeze, fear, true fear, provoke, all the CC debuffs on this champion will instantly fill this champion's turn meter by 30% and place a 30% increased speed buff and a shield buff on them for 2 turns. The shield buff is equal to 30% of this champion's max HP. So this aura is accuracy in all battles 80. Nice aura as well, by useful aura in Doom Tower as well. So this passive means that if somebody stuns CCs this champion, he will increase his turn meter increase his speed and put a shield on himself, so he will be staying alive hopefully, and he will get rid of that CC ability as soon as possible. Very decent base stats as well, almost 16k HP, 1500 attack, 1100 defense, 105 speed, usual crit rate and crit damage, 30 resistance, and 20 accuracy. So this champion will not be for everyone. I mean, not everyone can get him as soon as possible, because the missions will be so hard, and it is basically for end game players, because I saw some of missions, they are like getting in gold 3 in 3v3 arena, or finishing the some of the Doom Tower stages on hard like this. I don't know about rest of the missions, but I saw these missions, so it will be for the end game players. Don't be upset about getting him sooner, because if you are not in the end game, chances are you cannot get him. Next one, guys, is dungeon 21, dungeon stages 21 to 25 added to the game. These are also not for everyone, guys, and the drop rates are not that huge difference between the stage 20 and the 25. Basically, they increase the drop rate of getting a legendary 6-star by 5%. It's not a huge deal. I think I will try. I didn't try yet. I will try. If I couldn't do the stage 25, I will farm 20 as well. It's nothing wrong about it. And I do want to mention that in these new stages, the skills that deals damage based on enemies max HP will also inflict the 10% of the target's HP of the boss max HP. So this means they will not be as useful as they are in the stage 20, and the turn meter reduction effects will be decreased by 50%, I think, and it means they will be much harder to beat, and the gold hearts or royal cards will not be as useful as they are in the stage 20s. Gold heart I think will be useful for the turn meter depletion, but not for damage anymore. The efficient strategy will be the HP burn strategy, I guess. I didn't try it yet, but I will try today after this video, and I will make a video about how to beat them. Next one is potion keeps. These are also got 5 more stages, and for level 20s you will not get lesser potions anymore, and but you'll still have a chance to get bruise and mystery shards and ancient shards. So with that being said, guys, there is a 10x coming tomorrow, and I'll say I will pull all of my shards for this guy right here, although I am aware of that next week we will have a fragment summon event, fragment summon champion, but I didn't like that champion because I already have some AoE nukers. I fused Astralon, I have Skull Crown, and I know that champion is clutch to pair with the Tomb Lord, Tia the Tomb Lord, but I don't know. I rather pull shards for Maneater for unkillable teams. I don't have one yet, but guys, getting epic void is not that hard because there isn't a lot of voids epics, especially epics in the game, and the chances are if you pull some shards you will probably get Maneater. I will try my luck tomorrow and we'll see what I will get tomorrow. Next one I want to talk is Satalia. He has a cleanse, remove all buffs from all enemies, then decrease the turn meter of all enemies by 10% and fills the turn meter of all allies by 10%. Decrease the turn meter of all enemies by 20% and fills the turn meter of all allies by 20% if 5 or more buffs were removed. So chances are in most cases she will do that instead. She also has a remove all debuffs from a target ally, then place a block debuffs for 2 turns and heal that ally by 75% of their max HP. So this is a very big heal and A1 with a HP burn. Next one is Duchess, the Lilitu. Do I need to talk about her? Really? She has a speed on all battles by 19%. Attack one enemy, then place a shield buff equal to 10% of this champion max HP for 2 turns on this champion and the ally with the lowest HP. Place 50% increase attack buff, block debuff on all allies, and a perfect veil buff on all allies except this champion. Revives all dead allies with 70% HP. Place a veil buff on all allies except this champion for 1 turn. Place a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. And the passive with decrease the damage taken by all allies from AoE attacks by 25%. 15% from bosses. She's the unit, the biggest support champion in the game, in my opinion. Next one is Blind Seer. She is a dark elf support based champion. Attack three times at random. Each hit has a 30% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 15%. Place a block debuff buffs on all allies for 2 turns. Then place a shield buff on all ally for equal to 30% of champion's max HP for 2 turns. Also has a revive all allies to 30% HP. Place a block damage buff on all allies except this champion for 1 turn. Defense in all battles. She is very nice to have. I will pull shards for her too. Next one is Minaya. She is not that great. She's a decent but not that great. I wouldn't pull shards for her. If you have a Coronar too, maybe they will be decent. But I don't see her in a place that I would pull shards for her. Next one is Skytouch Shaman. Guys, she looks amazing, by the way. She has a A1 with AoE, heals by 15% of the damage inflict if this champion has a less than 50% HP. Boost this champion's turn meter by 20% instead if this champion has a 50% or higher HP. She has a passive that heals all allies by 10% of this champion's max HP, but she hurts herself with these debuffs also. She has a cleanser and a revive on death and block debuffs on all allies in a 4-turn cooldown. Basically, if you put her in an immunity set and high speed and high HP, you can counter the hegemons and the torments in the arena. Next one is Quargon the Crowned. He's nice champion, but I wouldn't pull shards for him. He has a place a perfect veil, increase attack buff on for 2 turns on all allies whose attack is higher than defense, basically the damage dealers, and place increased defense and block debuffs on the tanks. On a 4-turn cooldown, he has a nice HP, good amount of defense and good amount of speed as well. He's good champion, but I wouldn't pull shards for him. So guys, last but not least is Achak the Vendren. I would pull shards for her or him. I don't know the gender of this. But I already have him. I will call him. He has a block debuff and strengthen buff on all allies in a 4-turn cooldown. He has a basically this is a freeze. The HP burn won't work in most of the places. He has a 90% chance of freezing the enemies, all enemies, and this nice passive heals all allies by 5% of their max HP every time an enemy under a HP burn debuff gets a turn. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 10% every time an enemy under a freeze debuff gets a turn. He also has a defense in all battles aura. A1 is nothing special really. He has a decent HP, decent defense, average speed. He will be very useful in new dungeon stages. I believe he is very decent champion. I would pull shards, although I have him. Sorry. And that's it guys for today's video. Subscribe if you haven't already, like this video if you enjoyed the video, and I will share some guides about how to beat the new dungeon stages, so please subscribe and hit that like button because it is really helping me with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching and I'll catch you later.